What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Hard Work Beats Talent, where we aim to draw upon the insights of our inner circle in order to help our listeners make more informed decisions about their career and general life journey. I'm Nikita, and I'm joined as always by my good friend and co-host Alex. And before we just get into this episode, if we can please ask you to subscribe, follow, like, and comment. Our handle is at Hard Work Beats Talent Podcast. Now, with that out of the way, on today's episode, we are joined by a good friend and member of our inner circle. He describes himself as an ordinary man doing extraordinary things. He goes by the name of Mr. Bag and Tag, Nathan Jones. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you're doing well. When we kick this off, we like to get our guests to kind of give a bit of an elevator pitch about themselves. So if you can start off by, telling us who you are, where you come from, what you do, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Well, you kind of said half of what I was going to say anyway. But no, I'm Nathan Jones. I'm a professional fighter. I'm a martial arts coach. I'm a youth worker. I'm 35 and I'm from London.
And welcome. We are very pleased to have you here. Honestly, before this episode, Nikki and I were exchanging notes and both just sharing how excited we were to get you on here, because martial arts is something we've both dabbled in and we really have a lot of respect for. And we were super pleased for you to reach out and agree to come on today. So thank you.
Oh, brilliant.
So to kick off, can we get a little bit of a deep dive into how you got into martial arts, which is what we'll start with before going into your other areas?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was 23 when I got involved in the martial arts, and basically I got jumped. After a night out, and I was scared for my life, and I managed to get away, but I was so tired from getting away that I was like, I need to work on my fitness. And what if I didn't get away? I wouldn't know the first thing to do. I had an idea, but in actuality, the way that I felt was so scared, I didn't know what to do. So that was Friday, Saturday night. The Monday, I went for a free trial at the gym opposite where it happened, and signed up. And literally, as they say, the rest is history. I fell in love with the art, I fell in love with the sport, and here I am today, Yeah.
Did when that event occurred, which is a horrific experience, by the way, just to highlight that for anyone to go through, right? Did you open up about that to your friends, about some of the emotions you went through at the time? I think particularly as, young men, the macho side of us maybe doesn't always want to kind of say, listen, guys, I was quite fearful, didn't know how it was going to pan out, and I actually want to skill up in some way.
Absolutely. That was to my closest friends, just what I said. I was scared, and, everyone's had their own experiences here or there to a greater or less extent. And a lot of my friends could relate to that to a degree where they could understand and agree with my actions, but they didn't join the gym or stick with it. But it was something that I felt that I had to do. I always feel like I'm the protector of my household, or the leader of my friends, and it was like, no, I need to be able to look after myself before I can look after anyone else, kind of thing. It's how I like to go about things. So I just became a student and started my path, and I'm glad I found that path, and I'm still on that path. Still got a long way to go, but touch wood. You know what I mean? I still got a lot more lessons to learn and to give. So
fantastic. And did somebody recommend that you go to some sort of gym, whether it be boxing or martial arts, as a kind of as a suggestion, or did you come up with that idea yourself? Well,
funnily enough, yes. Yeah. First of all, my mum's been banging on at me for years. Oh, Nathan, go do a martial arts. Nathan, get off your butt. Go do this, go do that. And do you know what I mean? If anything, I'm underselling it. She was cursing and stuff. You know what I mean? So then I said, Mum, yes, look what I've done. You've told me to do this, and I'm doing it, and now I've got to fight. She's like, what?
Yeah.
I told you to do a self-defense, not fighting. mums are mums, you know, love her to pieces. And so she's always been, you know, that nag in my ear to take action. And growing up, there's always one of the things I was not so forthcoming doing is taking action. And I had a friend a close friend of mine, a colleague at the same time, was like, oh, I just tried this out. And like on the way here, I was telling you about these signs, you know, and it was like, I got jump 1. My friend's just telling me he's gone and done this thing 2. And I was like, I'm going to be a fool if I miss that sign, miss that angel, as it was, like giving me that message. And I don't want to get all like subliminal and stuff, but that was literally like a light bulb moment. I was like, rah, I've got to follow that rabbit, you know, and yeah.
No,
I did.
Amazing, and thanks for sharing that. Like, obviously, it was a while ago, but not the nicest experience to have to like rehash. But I think there's a lot of value to be taken from that, especially with regards to taking action. And what you said about like the sign or the signal reminds me of something I came across literally earlier today about distinguishing between the noise and the signals. And yeah, if you have been told by a friend, "Oh, I'll try this thing out," and the jump happened, you then went to the gym, and like you said, the rest is history. You're on this quite amazing journey, and you wouldn't be here otherwise. So yeah,
absolutely,
paying attention to the signals.
And we will get into this a little bit deeper in terms of your educational side. But to give our listeners an idea, because you started, I think you said 23, you walked into the gyms, which is, you know, it's like a little bit later on in your sort of, you know, growing up. And so what did you do? What did you do at university when you studied? Leading up to that, because that was probably like a really pivotal point in your life as well. So as a signal, like this completely changed your life, right?
No, absolutely. So at uni, I did history and politics, rather academic in the sense of like reading essays and all that, you know, and that's on one side, and then fighting's on another side. Do you know what I mean? It didn't quite match up like on paper, but it worked for me, and I enjoy history. I love learning about history. So I carried on with the academia, and I did a master's in sociology.
Oh, wow, okay.
I did the master's just purely because I didn't know what I wanted to do straight after uni. I just wanted to give myself a little bit of leeway and stuff, and, you know, went down through the sociological route. At the time, I was doing lots of youth work. Started off as a young person, and carried on doing youth work, and I was just studying on the side, and I got jumped, and then I just started training martial arts, and you know, I did think I was too old to do anything with it, but age is nothing but a number, you know, and I look at it as my mileage. The tires have the mileage. Do you know what I mean? So I started later, but I got fresh tires. At the time, I had fresh tires, you know. So
it's amazing, isn't it, how you can be on one path at one point in your life, and you kind of think you've got it sort of figured out, and you know where you're going, and then one single event can kind of just trigger off like this whole series of events that takes you down a completely different road. Absolutely.
And I had another one where I've had to change my full-time job, which was, you know, so I'm about 25, 26. I was a full-time youth worker, family support worker, working in schools, working with other young people, with their families and exploring issues and stuff. Carried on fighting, competing. I had to take it to the next level, you know, where I turned professional, and then I was winning. Then I started losing, and I started losing because the guys that I was against were more experienced, or they had better resources than I had, and
but also had the time to commit.
Absolutely,
as well, because they were probably dedicating all of their time to training.
Absolutely. So I had to make another decision. It's like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a fighter, or do I just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So taking a step back, you got to this gym. Is this an MMA gym, or is it a kind of specific area? So either like kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, like was it a specialist in one area, or was it a bit of everything?
A bit of everything. It was, I would like to say, a recreational gym. You know, you had all ages there, from the little ones from 4 years old all the way up to, you know, mature students, and they did everything. They did striking, they did grappling, they did fitness, and you know, so I was just thrown in at the deep end and did a bit of everything, you know. So yeah, no, I love it all.
And did you kind of from there go down any specific routes, or has it always been an MMA focus for you?
Yeah, literally, it was just I wanted to do a bit of everything, and I enjoyed it. You know, it's like, how do you know what you like, or how do you know what you're good at if you don't try?
Yeah.
So I thought, give it a go, and what I with martial arts in particular, what I found out was that it's a lot to do with technique. You know, and I was exposed at an early age, early in my training, that it was technique and how much I didn't know, and I just had to learn.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to make a point, because when you said there's quite a big difference between the kind of academic route and that of being a student to martial arts, like, I think it's important to emphasize, as someone that's kind of been to a jiu-jitsu gym, and I even trained earlier today, like, the two aren't that distinct in terms of like learning about the technique and like kind of going through it, redoing it so that it becomes muscle memory. And I actually find it super intellectually engaging as well as just physically engaging.
Absolutely.
And you in my gym at least, you find it's like people who are quite like senior at like tech companies and stuff. It's like that sort of mind that wants to figure things out and isn't happy unless they realize like where they went wrong, and then correcting that like often gets attracted to it. So I don't think there's that much of a difference. I think fighters can sometimes get a bit of a bad rep, and I know I certainly had the perspective that it's just two guys brawling, but once you understand what's actually going on and like the strategy, like it's as, I guess, technical as any sport, if not more in some respects, because you're managing your ego and you're putting your health on the line, I guess.
Absolutely.
So no, I think there is definitely a bit of a connection there between someone that has taken it like academics to a master's level and then is also now in a cage fighting other people.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing, right? Like, you're the first guest that we've had on that has something in common with us in terms of like a martial art or pugilistic type of activity that we all have in common. We've had other guests on, you know, that have careers and maybe like professions or vocations that we have never had like a window into. Right. Whereas like we've, you know, Alex dabbles a little bit in BJJ, and like I've done a bit of amateur boxing. So like for us, it's such an interesting conversation to have and to get the different perspectives that we all have. Obviously, your perspective is on like a much higher in-depth level. But like a debate that I often have with people that have that perspective that, you know, boxing or martial arts are about the aggression and the physical aspects. I always go back to one of the points that one of my coaches said to me is that from a boxing perspective, because that's where my experience is, boxing is actually a thinker's sport. You know, it's not just about tearing each other's heads off. You got to think about the feet, you know, the positioning, the pivot, the you know, the movement, and you know, you can win fights with your feet. It's not about the power, because
no, for sure they call it the sweet science. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
For that reason. So I agree with you. And like with jiu-jitsu, they call it human chess. Again, for the same reasons, you know. So there's a lot of thinking and a lot of other things you've got to take into consideration behind the scenes. Is taken away from just the fight and stuff. So
on the jiu-jitsu front, someone once described it to me as trying to solve a moving Rubik's Cube whilst being a moving Rubik's Cube for someone else. Like, I think especially when you have like training partners that you trust and you know aren't trying to hurt you, like it can be so fun, I find, and it's very different to. Well, I used to play a lot of football back in the day, but yeah, just sparring with kind of people who I know through the gym but not otherwise, but you kind of both know the game each other's playing, and
there's a mutual respect, but
then also improvement. So by pushing it to like a kind of appropriate level, you're both pushing each other's ability, and like I think that growth process, again, not too dissimilar to say writing an essay or going through like the academic process to improve your ability to read, write, or whatever. It's kind of plays out in the physical, and the outcomes are so binary, right? You either get caught or you don't get caught.
Absolutely. And you know, for me at least, I've learned a lot through not just just training martial arts, but the combat sport. You know, whether I've won, whether I've lost, I've learned from myself. Do I dust it off and get back to it, learn from my mistakes, or do I highlight the mistakes that I've made, or what the areas that I need to work on? And do you know what I mean? It's also, I get instant feedback. What I have been working on, did it work? Am I good at what I do?
Yeah.
Did I listen to the right person, make the right changes and stuff? And you get that instant feedback, and you know, it reflects a lot of real life in my eyes. I can tell the type of person by how we train. You know, if I beat them and they quit, they're a quitter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or they're back again.
Yeah.
Go on then. They're a grafter, or you know, they're always in the gym, or X, Y, Z. So.
It does speak a lot to character, and we posted a quote recently on our socials that it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with what happens to you, right?
For
so
sure.
It doesn't matter if you lose, it's what do you learn from that? What did you take away from it? And just something you said earlier as well about when you were transitioning from the academic and your sort of professional side into fighting, and you got to a point where you kind of had to go all in, or you're going to be kind of like a part-time fighter, but accept that you're going to win and lose, you know, in equal measure, and kind of, you know, get beaten up some weeks because some of the other guys are more dedicated, have more time, is that correlation that you can't half-arse anything.
That's right.
In your career or fighting. And I think with like a martial art, it's highlighted the most because you can have an office job or whatever it is that you do, and it's really easy to like kind of hide and, you know, cruise along for 10 years or whatever, because you're not getting that instant feedback and, you know, the physical side. But
for sure,
you know, when you go into the ring, there's no half-arsing it, there's no hiding. And I want people to take that away, that treat your whatever it is that you want to do, like your career or your path, your journey, as though you're in the ring or in the cage, taking someone on, right? Don't half-arse it.
And just to add on that point, kind of one thing we get told is that more often than not, the biggest challenger in the kind of octagon or wherever you might be is yourself, right? So
absolutely,
have you trained properly? Have you done the camp properly? Like that all plays out, and that is effectively what you're fighting against as much as the person in front of you. So yeah, I really like that point, Nikki, and I'm super passionate about this point because like I said, I had a preconception of what fighting was before like delving into jiu-jitsu. And what I'm always astounded by, like when I listen to, say, podcasts of like different MMA fighters and jiu-jitsu practitioners, is just the character of these people. It's one thing to, I don't know, say I'm going to go and do X, Y, and Z, but it's another thing to actually do it, or to eat humble pie once it doesn't work out that way and go back and like retrain. And I think that level of character you don't find really in many other walks of life. And I think I hope that if anyone listening to this takes anything away from it, it's that I think people who put themselves through it deserve a lot of respect, because like you said, instant feedback, health, huge consequences, and to consistently go back and do that, like, I think just deserves a tipping of the hat, definitely.
No, for sure.
So Nathan, when was it that you sort of discovered that or transitioned into, you know, coaching as a career? What was the tipping point for you, and how did your hobby develop into your now career?
Yeah.
And that's, you know, because you went, well, tell us, did you go into coaching first, or did you go straight into fighting, and where did the two meet?
No, absolutely. Well, it started off as a 5 to 9, my hobby, turned to my 9 to 5, you know, where I was doing it full time, turned to all the time, you know what I mean? I live, breathe, sleep, martial arts, fighting, but martial arts, you know. And there's a distinction there, and I'll talk about that later. For me, it was, I had to make a decision. Do I want to work my local authority job as a youth worker, safe, you know, I knew how much I was getting paid, I had a pension, I had sick pay, or did I want to take a chance and be great, which is follow my dreams? How good would I be? I would never know how good I could have been if I never took that chance.
Yeah.
And that was the choice that I made, and I made it. Touch wood again. I'm not looking back because I'm happy with the decisions that I've made, because I'm able to train, to travel with my training, train with the best guys, take time out of my day to train as much as I'd like to. Or, you know, at the time it was, now we've got mortgage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This and that, and you know, so it was when I started to compete at a national level with the fighting. So I was a professional. I was doing the local circuit, the regional circuit. I took it to a national level. I was fighting at the time. The promotion was called BAMMA, which is the British Association of Mixed Martial Arts. And they're at the time they were the best show in Europe, you know. So
Okay, wow.
from the national level, I had to take it to the European international level, and then I've taken it to the world stage. And with some of the opponents, like I competed on Bellator as well, Cage Warriors as well. So it was like, how you know what I mean? It was, I wanted to know how far I could go, so I put all my eggs in that basket, and I took a chance. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I took a chance.
It takes a lot of character to do that, even to kind of risk it all to determine how great you can be. Takes a lot of guts and a lot of will. So I commend you for that. Because
yeah, no, thank you. I mean, I'm not even. I know I'm a fighter. I introduced myself as a fighter. You see me in the cage fighting.
Yeah,
but I'm not a fighter. Yeah, I tell my young people I'm an athlete. I'm a professional athlete. You know,
it's a different message to send as well, which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just because I said I'd explain it, and then you're talking about before like the stigma of the character. You know, I'm a professional athlete. You won't see me out of the pub on a Saturday night. You know what I mean, beating people up or getting into altercations. Actually, funny enough, since I started fighting, I've got the headphones on, so you can't see my cauliflowers. But people will look at it, they'll be like, you know what I mean?
You don't want this.
But no, look, I'm a professional athlete, and everything that I do, every decision that I make, is with my end goal in mind. So I tell my young people, what is your why? What do you want to do? And why do you want to do it? So the things that you do, make sure it's going to help how you do it, or how you're going to get there. You don't need to know how you're going to get there. You just need to know your next step, and that next step, and then that next step, and then that next step. You know, and that's the same with me. Like, I was working full time, and then it was like, to give up my job to train full time, how am I going to get my full time money to pay for this, to pay for that, and then to get this, and then I didn't know. Do you know what I mean? And if I was to give a message to anyone, it would be to have faith, follow your instincts, and make sure every decision is to support your why, and then things will, in some way, work its way out. So therefore, I started coaching, because that went hand in hand. So if I wanted to fight, I could fight, but I could coach just before or just after training, 1 or 2 clients, yeah, cool, mix it in with my training when I was able to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, I realised that I was good at coaching.
Yeah.
Because I'm a good fighter, by the way.
Yeah.
That's why they've got to be on you. Right?
Big facts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I realised that I was good at it, I enjoyed it, and people got a lot from it.
Well,
and
this must play into your youth work experience as well, right? Because you learn to kind of guide and
absolutely
impart wisdom.
What you said. I agree with it. You know. So I've carried on with my clients. That is flexible around my training, which actually funds my training and provides me with an income to live my life. So to answer your question, it was like, that's why I got involved in coaching, because it was a means to an end to allow me to support my actions towards my why.
And do you think coaching's influenced your fighting ability at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because every time I'm coaching, and people will choose me because of my skills and my attributes. So I'll coach people in my style. So every time I'm coaching them, I'm reiterating the moves and the techniques and the sequences that, one, I have to use, two, that I have, not that I use, but I have to follow, because that's how it's done, you know. So when I'm fighting, I've drilled it, not just with my partner, but I've said it, and and I almost could do it blindfolded.
Autopilot.
Yeah, exactly.
Programming yourself.
Exactly. I'm not going to fight blindfolded, but I'm saying, like, well, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I can process. Like, if you think about your brain as a computer chip, there's only so much processing power that we've got. So not only do I have to think about somebody trying to hurt me, not only do I have to think about the lights, the cameras, the audience, you know what I mean? My friends and family, the critics. Not only do I have to worry about the information my coaches is telling me, I've got to worry about if I'm looking good and doing my thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Bro, the first amateur fight that I had, right, on that point is like coming out, and this was in Hayes, in a working men's club, right? It was like small, dingy sort of place. You know, I had a couple of friends there. My mum was there, and you walk out, and it's like someone put shutters like in front of your eyes, because the moment the bell goes, the adrenaline kicks in,
adrenaline dump.
and you do not remember seeing, hearing, like feeling a single thing. And like you say, you know, listen to the coaches, listening to like all that outside noise. I don't remember a single word that I was told in the corner in between rounds. So it's not just learning the skill of fighting and, you know, the grappling and all of those skills. It's the skill of self-control, discipline, and being able to. It is like an art of controlling, self-regulation.
Absolutely,
and that involves and includes the hormonal side and you know, all of that kind of stuff, because when you're in the corner, you do need to listen to your coach, and you need to tweak your all of your tactics and all that kind of thing. So there's so much that comes with it. It's fascinating.
But with the point on coaching, presumably as well, when you're watching other people do what you're teaching them, you can like tweak you can almost like coach yourself via them a bit. Like, say, I could do that in this way and that in that way. So a lot of people I've trained with who now coach have said it's improved their ability to grapple, because when you're trying to explain something to someone, if you can't do that, then you know you don't really know it properly yourself. I'm sure you'll maybe on that point, but
absolutely,
it's interesting that there are definite like synergies, not just from the financial perspective, but from this is going to improve my ability in the cage, like from coaching and doing the fighting as well. So that's awesome, and it's I think a good message there about if you do have a passion and you are pursuing it, ask, are there ways in which you can monetize it, but then also help others through it, such that it's become a full-time thing for you rather than part-time focus.
No, absolutely.
Would you say that when you're coaching other people, you get, you know, let's say 100 people through the door in a week or whatever, that you can almost like, it's like a simulator for you where you can say, all right, try this, and then you can kind of see how it worked out without having to actually go in and spar?
Yes and no. Yes, in terms of if I explain something to you, do you understand it or not? If I have to repeat myself 3-4 times, then it's not even worth it. Like,
move on.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, if it worked for you, or if you're getting ready for a competition and you've got a foundation, it's easy for me to impart some knowledge that could help impact on your overall performance. And if that does, then cool, why wouldn't I try it out? But a lot of what I teach is means tested, pressure tested. I've tested it myself. I've been out there, whether it's on the mat, in the ring, in the cage. I've been there, I've done that. So I'm only going to tell you if it's worked for me. So it's more a top-down way of coaching that I like to use. But at the same time, I say it like in a way where I've got to make everything idiot-proof. You know what I mean? You need to be able to understand it, I'm not saying that you're an idiot. I'm saying you need to understand it.
My mum questions it quite often, to be honest.
But then, all right. But then I need to understand it with all those other factors that I mentioned before happening at once in that moment. Like, it's got to be simple. It's got to be quick. It's got to have to work or have a high success rate. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, when the stakes are high, when the margins are that narrow, it's just like with the top of every sport. You know, look at Formula One. They're spending millions over a hundredth of a second. Do you know what I mean? Like, the margins are that small, or that fine, should I say, that everything counts. So I don't like to take too many chances when I'm there having to do it and stuff. It needs to be means tested, high success rate, and not cost me too much of a risk, you know.
Yeah.
Just on the kind of topic of your kind of professional athlete career, can you give us like an insight into the like top points, low points, and just bring to light what it looks like? Because we've done a lot of talking around the topic, but it'd be great for us and our listeners to like just know what the life of a professional athlete in mixed martial arts looks like.
Cool. I've got 4 fights I want to talk about. I can do it quite quick if there's
no problem. No,
we're not in a rush. So
okay, cool.
Take it away.
My very first fight was an amateur fight. I'd been training for about a year. I want to say a year, and I was so scared. Like I said, I'm not an aggressive person. I'm not a fighter, but I trained, and it was like, well, how good am I? Put it on the line. Do you know what I mean? This is what it's about. Why not? You know, it was on my bucket list. I'll have a fight, see how I go. And the guy, I didn't even see the guy before, and I saw him in the cage. And my coach even said to me when I was walking out, it's like, don't worry, it's just a facade. You know what to do, Nathan. You know what to do. Go get him. And I see the guy was massive, tatted up and just ugly. Like, just raw aggression. Anything that you, like, oh my God, I would have just left there and then. I was so scared. Anyway, cut a long story short, I won the fight, and I was so proud of myself. So proud of, and my mum was proud of me, and everyone, because it's not just me. Yes, it's an individual sport, but it really is a team effort. You know, I've got my coaches, my training partners. I've got other specialist coaches. You know, now down the professional route, I've got a nutritionist. I've got a S&C coach. Do you know what I mean? I've got a performance mental coach. All these other, I've got a rehab coach. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of people behind the scenes, as well as support network and sponsors and stuff. So it really is a team effort. So we were all proud of that guy that got into the cage, you know, and that was a big 2 fingers up at the guys that jumped me. I was like, I said to myself, because I know they'll see this somewhere down the line. They'll see me on YouTube, and you know what I mean. They'll turn around and say sorry, and not necessarily those guys, but some other guys did just that. Oh, Nathan, yes, yeah. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so literally every Christmas time I go out in Twickenham. They're my school. I go and have some drinks. I will get someone from my past. I don't even have to tell people I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
They
know.
Yeah, all my friends will say, "Oh, I saw your fight on YouTube. Oh, you're this." They realise actually, I've turned my life around. For the better, and you know, it's that hard work. That not so much I saw something on Instagram the other day. It's not the intensity or the regularity that you do something. It's the consistency that you do it. 100%. That's got to move you on that next step. And there's levels to this. You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's what I love about martial arts. You know someone's level by their belt. You know someone's level by where they're fighting and whatnot. And I've managed to build myself up on that amateur, regional, local circuit. Coming up to the next fight I'm going to talk about is a world title. I fought for the BAMMA World Title in 2015, and that was, for me, that was the pinnacle. The world title, main event.
Wow.
Live on Dave.
Massive.
And I lost.
Oh, okay.
Oh, mate. it was like everything that I'd worked for. Literally all the things that I've just mentioned before, working, and I even was training Tom Hardy, who at the time, getting him ready for Venom, was training him, and he even came to the fight and everything.
Oh, amazing!
And that was one thing. He's a friend now, but I mean, at the time, he was just this guy, like whoa, you know what I mean? But that was the momentum that I brought through. As an accolade to the hard work. You know what I mean? To have someone like that come and support me, wear my T-shirt, be in my crowd. And I knew, because it was live and everyone was talking about it. That Nathan from the area, Nathan from Brentford, Nathan. It was like that. I had all my people with me, and anyway, I lost. But I'm still proud of myself. And I was in the gym the next day, so it happened Saturday, Sunday, whatever it was, 10 o'clock. I was in that gym, and everyone was like, "What are you doing, Nath?" I was like, "It's another day."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Life goes on.
Big respect.
You know,
massive. That's what. Just can I ask you quickly?
Don't ask me how I lost, all right? Don't ask me what fight it was either.
Yeah. Have you? I mean, you look back at it, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you process that? You know, when you look back at it, do you think, why did I do that? Why didn't I do that? Like, what's the journey, right? Because we all go through challenges, ups and downs, and it's like everyone has different ways of dealing with it. So I'd really love your perspective on that, because it's such a big thing to have gone through.
Yeah, it was a massive thing. I went... Well, I wouldn't say I was depressed. I didn't get depressed, but I had a lot of cold sweats, a lot of flashbacks, because I got knocked out. I got knocked out in the first round after me cleaning up on points. I was racking up points, and literally it was a millimetre that way, and I was out.
Fine margins.
You know, and everyone would say, "Oh, Nath." And funnily enough, I know I've just spoken about it now, but even before then, everyone still asked me about this fight. But you know what? It's a fight. It's a sport. It's entertainment. You know, I did not lose anything. I lost the fight, yes, but I'm still the same person. I've gained from it. I've moved on from it. I've still got the same acquisitions. People look at me. Actually, if not, they'll look at me better. Wow, because they can see. You fought for a world title. How many people do you know that have become fighters have fought for a world title? Do you know what I mean?
It's the 1%, right?
No, absolutely. So I'm proud of myself, and I've lived to tell that tale, and the resilience it takes to hold your head up high, walk down the street, to look somebody in the eye, and tell them not so much what you should be doing, but how I did it. So if you want to go on this journey, what does it take? I'm telling you what it takes. It takes this and takes that. You know. So yeah, I've learned a lot from that resilience, having resilience from it, and I would do it all again.
Amazing. Someone, I can't remember who, but someone once described this sport as almost like addictive, in that and almost drug-like, in that you go through real highs and real lows, like depending upon like not just outcomes, but how a ref might decide on a day, for instance. Like there's just so much on the line for a binary outcome, and to I guess withstand that and keep moving forward, takes a lot. And again, I've not met anyone else that's fought for a world title, so 1% indeed.
Yeah.
So
it's cool, man.
I think you said 2 more fights.
Yeah. So just with that, and the same kind of like, I think this next one was before. I fought in Wembley Arena. I fought for Bellator, which is a global promotion. So if you think about football and MMA, so MMA is the sport, football's the sport. You've got the Champions League, you've got UFC, you've got UEFA, you've got Bellator. So in terms of the league or the level that me to fight on Bellator, I'm talking about, it's a high level. Very high. So I managed to get on Bellator, so I've had 2 fights on Bellator, and that was at Wembley Arena. And
wow.
The boy from Brentford, do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's the boy from Brentford. Because I'll be around the area, people would see me or whatever. You know, I'm like, no, really not. But no, again, it's an achievement, and to look back, and I just think, wow, not everybody gets to do this. I am literally an ordinary guy. You know what I mean? Doing extraordinary things, walking out into a sold-out arena. It's just like, whoa. And I just, not only have I learned from the experience, but I want to share my experience with as many people as possible, people that have these aspirations to become fighters or to become sports persons, but also to motivate those that don't have any aspirations, that don't have any motivation, don't have a support network to help them, or they don't have the resources, because it can be done. I started at 23, not even a fighter, and I've gone through a journey. So if you want to do it, you can do it. People say to me, oh, how do you juggle this and juggle that? And because I was working full time and I was doing some other studying, and I was fighting. How? Listen, if you want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
But if you're finding a reason, then you don't really want to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it reminds me of the saying when someone says, I'm not sure I have time for that, it really means it's not a priority.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, yeah.
And that same like concept and what I'm talking about, that you don't have to be a professional athlete to have this. My mum did it as a single mum with 3 children. Do you know what I mean? My inspiration's from her.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And the work ethic and the dedication and the consistency I got with a lady with 3 kids with not many resources on her own. Do you know what I mean? So
now that's busy.
Yeah,
You know?
very busy.
That's stress. That's real life stuff.
No,
right?
exactly. You know, she brought me into this world, and she's the only one who can take me out.
I think all of our mums have probably reminded us of that at one point, right?
100%. Final fight?
Yeah, it's the one I got next week. I'm fighting in 7 days' time, 19th of November. I cannot wait. I'm fighting for the Fight Star welterweight title. In Crystal Palace. So I'm fighting. I love fighting in London.
Yeah,
you know, it's a smaller venue to like my last fight, which was Wembley Arena, but it's more cozy. I get to hear my crowd and vibe off their chants and stuff. And
who are you fighting?
It don't matter who I'm fighting. Actually, I did a reel on that the other day.
I saw that.
It doesn't matter.
I think I saw that one as well.
It was The Rock.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what he's
No. I'm fighting a guy called Joe Cummins, who is a legit fighter, as real as they come. And it's going to be a showdown, to say the least. You're only as good as your last performance. You're only as good as what you did the other day. Did you know what I mean? So this is a good test of my own character. You know what I mean? This is my 25th fight, and I'm still going strong. And whether I've had ups and I've had downs, I've always had to question: do I want to do this? Do I have what it takes? And you've got to be consistent. I'm still doing what is needed to be done to fight at this standard, and I'm going to prove that next Saturday night.
Nice. Do you want to tell our listeners how they can cop a ticket?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So check out the Fight Star website, and you can get a ticket if you're local to London. If not, you catch a stream, and all the good stuff.
And I think I said to you, I would have been. I actually live in Crystal Palace, but I'm in Florence next weekend. But yeah, I saw it come up on your thing. I was like, Crystal Palace, no way. I'd love to get down and watch it. But yeah, let me know about the next one though.
Yeah.
I'd love to come along. I've actually never been to a live fight, I don't think, other than like BJJ tournament. So it'd be interesting to come down.
See, if I knew that you weren't coming, before, I would not be here. What the?
It's my mini moon.
Yeah, no.
So it's unfortunately it can't be moved. Otherwise, I won't have a wife.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
She might not turn up on the day.
Yeah, literally.
She might be at the fight.
So, do you want to give us like a bit of a look into what camp looks like? You know, there may be a lot of aspiring fighters, professional athletes that have competitions coming up, or even amateur athletes, right, getting ready for fights or events. What's camp look like for you?
In particular, how it differs from your day to day, because I think, as you said, you train every day. and you coach every day. But yeah, what's the distinction between that and camp?
For sure. So when we do a camp, it's normally typically 8 weeks, for example, and a lot of all the different sports will have a form of periodization, building a base, and then peaking, and then tapering off. You know, so I will be training off season, and that will be like my first base, getting stronger, bigger, whatever. Whether it's weights for hypertrophy kind of thing, or if it's just skill based, just keeping everything sharp. And then once it starts, all right, cool, I've signed a contract, I've got 8 weeks to go. Then I'll be doing more specific stuff because it depends on who I'm fighting. It's like rock, paper, scissors. Do you know what I mean? My strength may be their weakness, and you'll see next week. We'll expose it. Do you know what I mean? But exactly. So everything is specific. My training. So I'll train striking. I'll train grappling. I'll train MMA. You know, mixing it together off the cage, ground and pound jiu-jitsu kind of thing. Wrestling takedowns, but maybe with strikes as well. They call it shoot boxing.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? All the different ranges. I might just do boxing one day. I might do kickboxing. I might do just jiu-jitsu. I might put the gi on. But I'm always, you know, every day or 5-6 times a week, I'm doing a skills
Based,
session as well. Twice a week, 3 times a week, S&C session, mobility session. But then as the camp goes on, it'll be strength speed stuff, and then the next stage would be speed strength stuff. I may have said it the wrong order, I don't know, but you get the picture. And then it'll be just speed and then just skills stuff toward the end. So right now I'm tapering. I'm cutting the weight. So I've just had a double espresso before here, so I'm a bit chirpy, but I'd be quite gaunt and miserable normally. Yeah.
I'm glad we caught you on a good day. We might be in an armbar here after the wrong question.
While you cutting weight, like what does that look like? I've never had experience with that, but I've heard it can be miserable, right?
Yeah, so actually, funnily enough, at the gym, everyone's like, we much prefer cheesecake Nathan than weight cut Nathan. It's like, no, that's a fair point. Yeah. So I walk around about 87 kilos and I'm competing at 77 kilos.
Oh, wow. So
it's a smaller average, as I was saying to Nikita on the way here. I'm small. 10 kilos is a average, less than average. You know, there's a lot of other fighters that are doing 12 kilos, 14 kilos. So I will diet half of it, 3 kilos or 3 to 5 kilos I will diet, and the rest I will lose in the water.
So is it like press ups in a sauna and all that?
Yeah, basically. Well, I wouldn't do press. I'll do just shadow boxing, or I'll just put more layers on and just sit in the sauna, or I'll do a salt bath or whatever. But I'll water load. So tomorrow I'll be starting my water load, which will be drinking 6 liters of water, then 8 the next day, and then 10 the next day. So you've been on the night out. You're on the beer and you break the seal, and you're doing a wee every 10 minutes. Well,
this is even worse.
This is every 5 minutes, and it's broad daylight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So why do you water load before you weigh in?
So I will do that to flush all the salt out of my body, the sodium out of my body, because that's water retention.
Right. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And then my body gets used to sweating out, urinating out as well. So when it comes to the sauna or the salt bath, depending on whatever's preference,
not actually retaining anything.
Exactly. It will just come out, and the balloon will deflate.
Wow.
So then when I rehydrate, I've got as much muscle as I can to stay at the upper weight class, as it were.
So much to think about. And now, obviously, the level that you're at, do you have a team that helps you build all of these different blocks together?
I have a team, yes, but I've done it so many times. I know what to do.
Yeah,
kind of thing. I can manage my own weight. Like I said, I'm a smaller average. To be fair, that's why I get paid. I get paid to make the weight. That's not the fun part. Fighting's for free. I was doing it for free as an amateur. Do you know what I mean? It's to make that weight that's different. That's difficult. It's manageable, but it's not pleasant. If I was, in that top 5% who's making proper money from the fights, where I wouldn't have to coach, then I would go to a lighter weight class where I would change my whole regime. You know what I mean? Where I can afford to diet less and afford to do more cardio just to burn the calories and stuff. But you know, you got to weigh it up. And I rather have more of a life, if that makes sense. You know, as opposed to, right, cool, I can only eat this and this is this, and I can't have time for my friends or my family. Do you know what I mean? So
how sustainable is something like that, really? Like, so for some people, absolutely, but yeah, you got to kind of recognize in yourself like how you want to live your life according to the circumstances.
Exactly, and then health also plays a factor, because it's not healthy to lose excess amounts. People have died from the weight cut. Such, you know, touch wood. Do you know what I mean? It's as few as possible, but you know, it
happens.
Yeah,
I actually haven't heard of anyone ever drinking 10 litres of water. That's insane. Wow.
I'll tell you something. by like the 6th litre, water is just, you just had enough.
Sick of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair. So I kind of wanted to move on to sort of the business side. Just touch on that briefly. Is there anything you wanted to cover off on the sort of fight or the training?
No, I think we've covered a lot on the fighting, and be really interesting to hear more about the business side.
Yeah, it's really just to kind of get an understanding for those that are listening that either are on the amateur circuit and thinking, oh well, how can I maybe move into more of the professional side? Maybe are thinking, oh, I might want to get into personal training and coaching. Or both, right? And so how do you balance the kind of the business side of Coach Nathan and Pro Fighter Nathan, you know, and because obviously you've got the sort of the monetization of both. There's a lot that goes into it, right? Your taxes and bookkeeping and all of this.
What?
We got to edit that out.
But also finding sponsors to help you have the time to train. Like, how do you fit all of that in alongside the actual work that you're doing, and like how does it look like day to day for you?
Absolutely, that's a good point. You know, as I'm 35 now, I'm not coming toward the end of my career, but I'm at the top arc, getting ready to wind down. You know, I don't really want to put a limit to how many more years I've got. I'd like to go out when I'm ready. But, you know, I'm 35, so I've been thinking more about the coaching side of things and my way out as such. So that's where my passion lies. Okay. In terms of like pursuing it. Yes, I still want to fight, and I love fighting, but it is, how can I grow my business? How can I make it sustainable? How can I get paid and not have to be there? Do you know what I mean? That's what I want, so I can train and do what I love, which is me being an athlete. So being a professional athlete is not what you may think it is. It's the top 5% that are getting the big money, and the disparity between me as an MMA fighter and somebody at the same level fighting boxing is the pay is different. You know. MMA is becoming more and more popular, and on the side note, so is jiu-jitsu. Like submission-only grappling is making its way, but compared to boxing, it's not at the same level. And when you think, if I was to ask you, name me a boxer, name me an MMA fighter, you would tell me the top 5%. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Nathan Jones, Mr. Baggins.
There you go.
Then Connor.
Split the notes there. Do you know what I mean? So I still have to work, but that's not a problem because I love working. I love utilizing my skills to as a means to an end. As the sport has evolved, there's a lot more opportunities now for amateur fighters than there was 10 years ago when I was an amateur. There's a lot more media channels to provide platforms, so sponsors are more attracted to invest in you. You know, so I've got to a stage where I've got a few sponsors that can help support in what I want to do, and allow me to perform to the best of my ability. But yeah, no, I still have to work, and I still have to, do you know what I mean? Log my income, do the bookkeeping, do the admin with the invoices and the tax man. Do you know what I mean? That's due as well soon, but you know, it has to be done, and I actually much rather do it this way. Yes, okay, I don't have a set amount. Sorry, I don't have a salary. I don't have any holiday. If I get hurt, who's going to pay me? No one's going to pay me. I can't work. Do you know what I mean? But there's no cap to how much I can earn. It's up to me. If I turn up for work, if I can build my brand, and you know, and I find that's a lot more exciting because I'm not just another person in a corporate world, just a name on the payslip. I'm me, Nathan Jones. I'm my own brand, and I'm building that and having fun doing so. You know, so I would recommend any young fighter, athlete, to go out there, utilize their skills. Utilize their skills for employment, but also to help that make you able to train as well. Do you know what I mean? Make it work for you.
Yeah.
Because it is possible. It doesn't look like it's possible. And I've coached a lot of people with this. It seems daunting, but you've got to take that leap of faith. You've got to believe in yourself. If you can't believe in yourself, or you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you, you know? So
being absolutely self-sufficient by the sounds of things, like it completely falls on your shoulders whether or not the money comes in or not. And I think like we've had one of our friends came on who has had his own business, I think, for like the last 5 to 10 years, but it's that thing of, if I don't get up and go to work, no one's paying me. So it's really different to, I think, some of the mindsets of people in our generation of, I can work from home or what have you, and still going to get paid at the end of the month. It's a very different mindset I guess you have to adopt.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But it's great because it affords you the flexibility as well. And as you say, you can build your personal training or coaching business as big as you're able to or want to as well, because you can say, right, this month I'm not fighting and I'm not training, so I'm going to hammer the PT and the coaching, so you can expand your revenue there. And you know, and in months where the PT and coaching is quieter, obviously you can dedicate more time to your training. So
absolutely,
it's very flexible and it's great. And as you say, once you sort of taper off your actual fighting career, you've already got like a good baseline for your actual business that you can then scale even further.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's great. So just one final question from me on the fighting side, and then maybe we can move on to the social and youth work. For someone maybe that was in a similar position to you know, maybe had some trouble on the street or you know, were assaulted, or maybe lack confidence, want to find some confidence, you know, whatever the reason may be, but feel nervous or intimidated sort of walking into a gym, right? Because I certainly have memories of the first time kind of walking into the gym, and you know, when you're like walking up, you hear the round clock like beeping, and you get more and more nervous, and you hear the sound of the bag crashing. And you know, what would your advice be for someone that's thinking about doing it but maybe doesn't have the confidence to?
Absolutely,
to do it?
It would be just turn up. You know, the hardest thing is the first thing, which is turning up. The analogy that I always give is like when you start your car, you start, that takes the most petrol and you're not even gone anywhere. Do you know what I mean? And then the first gear, it's slow. But then as you go through the gears, it gets easier and it's more economical, and you're going faster and stuff. And that is literally like how martial arts is, or anything that you start that is new. You know, it is very daunting. And that's why I love doing this, for people to see, actually, fighters, they're not all the same. There are people that are down to earth. There are people that I can relate to. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just get to the gym, try it out, and you never know. And I found my partner through the gym. A lot of my close friends are through the gym. So I've like had access to a new community. and we're all a bunch of misfits. To be fair, we're different parts of town. We're in different professions. We've got different interests, but it's about the martial arts. That's our thing in common, and I like it. And you never judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean. And ego is not your amigo.
Yeah, leave the ego at the door when you go to some sort of martial arts or boxing gym for sure.
Yeah. Just on that, so
it's not your amigo. That's great.
I remember, when I first went to my BJJ club, and on the intimidation front, I don't know if it will be as clear to people, but unlike a gym where you might go and lift weights and stuff, it's like you said, people hitting pads. There's aggression. There's testosterone. Everyone seems to know what they're doing, and if you engage in it, you might get hurt. So I think for anyone that is kind of considering it, but gets to that door and thinks, whoa, this is a bit much, like completely shared Nathan's kind of sentiment in that the more you do it, the more normalized it becomes. And actually, like you said, so many of these people are just normal people who want to learn, who want to improve. And it might look like animosity from the outside, but what I love about when you watch professional fighters is more often than not, despite all the trash talk and stuff beforehand, they'll embrace each other because they've both helped each other get to that next level. And I really think that should be kind of emphasized, that going to these places a lot of the time is about self-improvement. And I actually once heard about a thing about how great martial arts are, particularly jiu-jitsu, in terms of mental health. And it was around the fact that you're learning a new skill, you're exercising, and then, as you said, like you're joining a community. And it's like they're the things you need to have in place in life if you want to kind of be mentally healthy, at least as a foundation. So would fully encourage people to give it a try and persist, because I know I didn't enjoy my first couple of months, but I was assured that it would get better, and it did. So
I think what you described there are essentially like the key pillars to an individual and society, that kind of community and spirit and self-improvement, all that kind of stuff. And I completely agree with what you both said, really. I mean, talk about misfits, like there's people from all sorts of backgrounds, places and shapes and sizes, but you've got that common interest. You can make some of the best long-term friends in those environments. Sure. And no one's there really because they're mean and want to have scraps. It's all about self-improvement and learning a skill.
And I think for me, the one thing that like really struck a nerve for me was everybody's busy, everybody's stressed out, everybody's got their own problems to deal with, but when we get to the mat, we bow. Everything is left off the mat. Do you know what I mean? We can pick it up when we finish, but that is your time. Yeah,
it's like a form of meditation, isn't it? Almost.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for me, that was like the one thing that is really self-healing, because I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But when I'm training, I'm in my zone and it's on my terms, kind of thing, And that's one of the many benefits that I have, and why I still train, even when I don't want to train or I'm hurt or whatever. It's my time.
That's why it's so important for mental health, right? Because whether you're grappling or sparring or hitting pads, or you think about nothing else but that in the moment.
It's actually impossible. Like I've been always like kind of struck. Sorry to interrupt, but
go ahead.
When you go to a class, the kind of clarity of thought you come out with, just because if someone's trying to get on your back and strangle you, like you can't be like, oh, I've got to go and finish this thing at work. You're just in the moment. It affects you on a primal level, I think, like where it's kind of survive, move on, kind of learn. And from a mental health perspective, I think it's good to emphasize the benefits. But sorry to interrupt.
No. You've summarized that really well. That was all from me. Shall we move on to the next part of the career?
Yeah, 100%.
So Nathan, you're clearly an inspirational fighter and man within your community, within the gym. We want to sort of dive into a little bit into the youth work and social care as well, because I'm sure that's really interesting, and it will segue nicely into your background and how you grew up, I suppose. But how did you go from history, and doing your degree in that, to going into youth work?
Yeah.
What was the inspiration, or...
Well, I started off as a young person myself. As we do.
Yeah.
When I was a young person, I did the Duke of Edinburgh's Award.
Okay.
And as part of the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, D or V is acronym. As part of that, you had to do a skill, you had to do a sport, and you had to do some volunteering. And I helped out at the centre. I helped the younger ones do their award. So I went through the levels, bronze, silver, gold. So when I was gold, so I was 18 years old, I started to help the younger ones with their map reading and how to pack a bag, put a tent up, or plan the route. So they were 15 years old, something like that. So I started helping them, and then I finished my gold and I carried on volunteering just because I had nothing better else to do. And I actually enjoyed it. And then they started to, there's this training, Nathan, I think you should do it. And yeah, cool. Volunteering, opportunity after opportunity. Cut a long story short, I ended up getting paid for the job. Applied for a role, and getting a paid job, and that was in the Richmond Borough. And then that led to working in another youth centre, and 15, 16 years on, something like that, I'm there as a youth worker. So I've worked in youth clubs, youth centres, I've worked in schools, I've worked intensively with families, having a caseload, working alongside teachers, other family members for these young people, and even the ones that are at risk, so it's gone quite high to social care cases, and having to work with the social workers and this and that. And in my time in working in the Richmond and Kingston Borough, I've worked with, done lots of different types of youth work, worked with a lot of different issues. And the one constant, and I don't want to keep going on about martial arts, but that's the one thing that I always think that would help, that could help. You got low self-esteem, that could help. You got your substance misusing. Well, hey, find something that you enjoy. You realise that you shouldn't smoke because you're gonna gas out. Or I've had lots of. So I've been doing a group for about 10 years now, using my skills as a fighter, as a martial arts coach, as a youth worker, getting funding for these young people to put on a session so they can do it for free. And I like it. Wherever they're getting in trouble with the police, or they're getting kicked out of school, we just bring them together, and we play games, but we learn techniques, we have a bit of fun, and that is the one, out of all the type of youth work that I've done, that's the one thing that I actually don't get bored with. I've played pool non-stop, like I've played table tennis, I've taken them ice skating or bowling, and you know what I mean, or I've got them out of detention, I've taken them to this appointment or that. I ended up carrying my work home when it was like the serious stuff, and just not enjoying work, or I just got bored of doing the fun things. And just being able to engage with young people on a one-to-one level, I enjoy. I like their innocence, their naivety, and sometimes that makes you question your own morality. If you're telling them to do something, do something right, or do it the right way, I can only tell them that if I'm doing it myself, or if I believe in it and stuff. And in a roundabout way, that's kept me honest and kept me on my path. You're
almost accountable to these kids.
Absolutely. So I love it, and I've done it since I was a young person myself, all the way, and I've ended up studying it. And ironically, once I got qualified as a youth worker, I left youth work and I became a fighter. Do you know what I mean? But I love it, and I'm a big advocate for it, especially like with the local working with the local authorities, working with the schools and other youth organisations. At the moment, I'm working with the Prince's Trust as well, doing the same kind of things, you know, and I like it. It coincides with tackling national government's priorities, with the police priorities, anti-violent crime. Do you know what I mean? Like a young person, I believe, will be less likely to carry a knife if they feel confident in being able to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, they're less likely to get involved in an altercation because they know the consequences of what could happen in a fight. Or do you know what I mean? If I'm confident in my abilities to defend myself, I know what I could do to you. Just like, I'm not going to do it. Do you know what I mean? I know when to walk away. Or do you know what I mean?
That's something actually, I know we've moved on from fighting, but something I've noticed about kind of individuals that do train, there's a calmness that comes with it because you've almost simulated these interactions. So if someone is getting a bit aggressive towards you, you can say, I've literally done that 400 times this week, and you know what? The best form of self-defense, unless absolutely called for, is to probably just say it's not worth it. But it's often when people don't know what they're capable of doing, it's the kind of posturing ends up becoming an altercation, and that's when the kind of tragedies happen. So yeah, I think it's a really kind of key point you raised there around, I suppose, equipping people with the skills almost teaches them not to abuse them, because they know what they are capable of and what other people potentially could be capable of, and like you said, the severe consequences that come with that.
And reinforcing the honourability in walking away, because certainly when I was growing up and, you know, in school, you know, you did have that sort of pressure almost that, oh, if you walk away then you're a chump, you know, for use of a sort of a softer word, but there's no dishonour in walking away, especially when you have a certain skill set, or
Absolutely.
you know, you understand the consequences. You go, do you know what? That's fine. You take this one. That's okay. No problem here. You know, but at least you both walk away and you live to see another day. You know.
No, absolutely, and even just like the work it takes to get somebody to understand that. Yeah. Especially, you know, peer pressure is one thing. You're a product of your environment. It's another thing. And you're told in the media like how you should be, but to work with someone on a one-to-one level, for them to mature and to evolve under your wing, or in your you know, whilst you're working with them, it is a powerful thing. You know, so that's why I still try to go out of my way to do youth work in and around my own training. You know, so
I'm sure there'll be a lot of like kind of grateful young men and women, I'm sure, in the future, like who might not recognize it now, but will see the impact of kind of the time you do spend with them, because you kind of rattled them off there, like, oh, taking them ice skating, table tennis, pool, but the most precious thing we sometimes have to give is time, and by the sounds of it, you've done that for a lot of people, vulnerable and otherwise, and that is more than kind of any money or like kind of advice you can give them. It's like actually spending that time with them, I'm sure, will be really influential to them, and I'm sure when they see you on TV fighting as well, they'll be like, oh, that's Nathan. So it's really cool to see that you're also spending the time to give back as well, because some people say, oh, I'm just a fighter and that's what I'm doing. But no, there's another side, again, you don't hear about with fighters, of someone that's giving back to their community, not just with their words or their money, but also with their time.
And it's I think the wider message is that what we may deem as a really small act may be an enormous act for someone else, or gesture. So it's always nice to you know, put that into perspective and maybe think, oh well, if it seems small to you, but if you do it, you know, you could really change someone's day, or you know, maybe even inspire them to
for
improve
sure
themselves.
And a lot of that, I only realised that once people would stop me. You know, every now and again, I'll see somebody from my past, or I used to be their youth worker or whatever. Oh, yo, Nave. One boy I didn't even recognise, or man, should I say? He's like, I worked with him like 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? I didn't even recognise him because all the facial hair.
Yeah.
Jacked. Nave, remember that time? Yeah. And then the penny had dropped. It didn't drop. He used to be like just a terror. You know, a censored term there. I had to censor that, but no, he was just a terror. Do you know what I mean? And he's come back mature now. The penny's dropped, and he thanked me, and I didn't. And that's not even an isolated case. It happens all the time, and you don't realize until you get that feedback, and it makes it worthwhile, you know. And you don't have to be a youth worker for these things to happen. Even if you're in the gym or you're in your life, you've got somebody younger, or they may ask you for help, or you could see that they need help. Doesn't cost you anything. Just, you know what I mean? Little word of, you don't have to give them advice, but just tell them how they're doing, or
even
whatever.
words of encouragement, right?
Exactly.
That's something that so many of us lack. Just that little word to say, "Oh, I'm proud of you that you've done this," or, you know, great work, like you smashed that. Because, like I say, the little things that seem small to us that maybe our parents told us all the time. You know, some people don't even have that. So yeah,
especially from someone I'm sure they look up to as well, like to just have that kind of affirmation. So no, awesome.
So you're clearly still doing some of the youth work and providing support. If someone is looking for support or a program or anything, where can they look? How can they reach out? Any advice there?
Yeah, obviously it depends where you live as to where you'd go to see someone or do something in person. But Google, get on Google, whatever you're looking. If you're looking for martial arts, search martial arts clubs. If you're looking for, I don't know, like a youth club where you do general activities, get on Google. Where's your nearest youth club? If you're looking for like a helpline, it could be counselling or whatever. Get on Google, find out these services. Every local authority, at least in London that I know of, provides these kind of services, whether it's help, advice, whether it's guidance, whether it's a facility to do positive activities with, you know, whether that's private, like you need a membership to go to a gym, for example, or if it's a public universal service after school, go check it out. Or, you know, if it's a positive program like National Citizenship Service, NCS, sorry, or Duke of Edinburgh's Award or Prince's Trust, get on Google or the internet, or go to their websites, or ask somebody. You know, what I first did when I was going through what I was going through is I looked at the leaders in my field. Who is where I want to be? Do you know what I mean? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Where are they going? What did they do? And work back from there. So you've got an idol, someone you're looking up to.
So it's almost like start with why, find the who, and then work out the what you got to do.
That's exactly what I meant to say.
I'm just very, you know, like dumbed down everything you said into, you know, three words for someone to pick up.
But I think you touched on a really good point there around the fact that we are in a digital age where you can look at people that you aspire to kind of, I guess, match in terms of what they might have achieved in their lives, and you can quite quickly work out, whether it's through reaching out to them or people that might know a bit more about their story, what the steps were for them to get there, and begin to emulate them. I know I certainly did that with my career, and it makes life easier, because rather than I want to get to, let's say it's 100 meters, I want to get there, trying to work out how to get there is a whole nother process, and whilst trying to work that out, that takes time. But if you've got an example of how to do it, then it's easier to just follow that, right? And
absolutely,
you'll have your own adjustments along the way, and things will arise. But I think that's a really good point, and I don't think we've made it actually before in terms of there'll be people that we've had on that will be in places that you might want to get to as listeners, and kind of asking yourself, well, if they did that then, what do I need to do now if that's where I'd like to be?
And another point on that is ask for help. You know, whether it's
massive,
whether it's within your own network or somebody else's network, where ask for help. The worst they can say is no. And by you asking, that's a form of you taking action. You've already gone to that next step, you know. And if you're lucky, it could be a yes, or if it's not a yes, it will be a referral to somewhere where you can get a yes. And just ask for help.
So I'm conscious of time, and I'm certain we could like go on for a few hours for sure. But what I do want to touch on is, you know, you've mentioned that when you were young, action wasn't one of your priorities, so to speak. And I think it's really important to, like, you know, pay homage to your mum, who you've spoken to and spoken about, and sort of gave us a glimpse into, you know, who she is and kind of what she went through. If you don't mind sharing with us maybe some stories and anecdotes, how you went from, you know, not prioritizing action to like becoming this man of huge action, and also, you know, what were the influences growing up? What was it like growing up? How did your mum influence you and things like that? That would be really great.
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, I came from a working class family. Grew up on an estate, and one thing I was brought up knowing is my mum couldn't leave me any money. She's like, Nathan, I've got nothing to leave for you, so you got to do it for yourself. But get your education. No one can take that from you. Once you've got your education, no one can take it from you. So work hard. You can see all these your friends. I get like, they won't be your friends in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time. Life moves on. Don't worry about it. In terms of, oh, you have to go out, and I have to go out and play. I have to do this. No, do your homework, Nathan. She always instilled into me, and I didn't feel like I fitted in, being in a working class family, but then going to a better school, a middle class school. But it was something that I knew that I had to do to get an education, you know. And I think for me, growing up, I never really thought ahead until I was old enough. And do you know what I mean? And then I was like, well, I wasted all that time. So I always try to tell people, ask people, what do they want to do in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, 15 years' time? What do you want, you know? I was fortunate that I had a scare of being jumped, which I spoke about. I also had another scare of, I had pulmonary embolism, which is blood clots in the lungs. And basically I was rushed to hospital, and do you know what I mean? That was a big scare. So even before I was fighting, I had no health. I couldn't even get up the stairs without getting out of breath.
Wow.
And it was like, that made me think, health is wealth. Do you know what I mean? And then 2-3 years later, or whatever it was, then I got jumped. And I was like, no, you know what I mean? It's definitely a thing. But growing up, I would, for young people, I would say, get your education, because once you get it, no one can take it from you. You've got something to bank on. Do you know what I mean? And then enjoy your life while you can. And that's one thing I tried to do growing up. I'm doing more now, because you realise how much time you have or had, and now you don't have. Do you know what I mean? I had all the time in the world when I was 15, 16, and now, like, now I was like, I don't have any time at all, you know? So, yeah.
That's one that really is becoming more and more, I guess, prevalent in my life. It's like, wow, actually, looking back 30 years now, what's the next 30 look like? And it kind of, I suppose, forces you to think, okay, well, I need to take the actions with my life that I want to, because it's not a dress rehearsal as far as we know. So living the life you want, and kind of planning to get to where you want to get to. I think a good message is to get across to the younger listeners. But I know maybe when I was that age, if I heard that, I've got a younger brother, I give him a hard time on this. He's getting there, but like, I try and get messages through to him, and it's a balance between him wanting to enjoy his life and find his way, but then also, being kind of serious, because life will get very serious very quickly. Yeah. And not wanting to be too, I guess, upset by how things go. So I really like those messages.
Yeah. Two messages really stand out for me, and probably like has a role to play in sort of my upbringing as well, is the kind of, get your education. No one could take that away from you. That, I think, is really important. And I think, like, there's a lot of people that think, I'm not going to use this, so I'm not going to put that much effort into it because I've got this dream of doing something else. But you never know what twists and turns life can take. So absolutely. The education we have here in this country is free. you know, we all have to do it. We will do it. You might as well do your best at it. Take it away to whatever level it is that you want to take it to. But at least get those foundational years in. It's really important. The second thing is, like the friends that you have when you're, 15, 20 aren't necessarily going to be the friends you have when you're 30. So take what lessons you can from that. Try not to take all of that too seriously, because your circle and friendships can look very different.
And just to kind of buttress your point as well, on the education front, it's not everyone's cup of tea, right? But we have made the point here around how there are definitely like kind of parallels between learning a martial art and learning in school. So the quote that stands out to me is kind of how you do anything can be how you do everything. So taking it seriously, like although it might not be where you want to ultimately get to, like in your case, you've gone through it to master's level, higher than my level, and you're not necessarily using it directly now, but the commitment to excellence you showed there, I'm sure, is very similar to the commitment to excellence you show in your fighting. And it's not like you do one well and the other badly. It's like kind of keeping that as a consistent throughout life, like is important too.
For sure.
Love that message. And before we move on to our final two questions for you, like before we wrap up, that we ask everyone, what does 2023 hold for Mr. Bag and Tag, and what does it hold for Nathan Jones?
That's a good question. More, just more, really. More of what I've got, which is love, support, happiness, achievement. I'm not fussy. Any more of any of those, then I'm happy. And that's for Nathan Jones as well. For me, as a coach, as a family man, I just want to carry on growing and developing as a person. Forwards. That's all I want to go to. So wherever the wind takes me, and I'm a firm believer, let the wind take you. Opportunities will pop up, and doors will
be the
close.
Yes Man, right?
Yeah. Have you seen that film?
Yeah. It's great.
When he did it with said yes to the crowd.
Do you intend on being sort of, I don't know, maybe more active on the circuit, fighting? Like, what are your plans there?
Yeah, so I'd love to still compete, but I'm I'm happy. I'm happy being a family man. I'm happy competing 3 to 4 times in the year, and happy coaching. I've got to the point where I've been there, done that. Just like keep ticking it over. And that's a brilliant position to be in. Do it because I enjoy doing it, not because I have to do it.
Yeah.
So.
I tell you what, I had this like really nice catch up with my brother yesterday. And we said literally that, like, he's 8 years older than me. So, he's seen a bit more of life, and, we're the same in a lot of ways, but very different in others. And he just said, you know what, I'm just at a point where I'm just happy with what I have. And I think there's something beautiful in that sort of like finding pleasure in the mundane. Not that your life sounds mundane at all, but as in, you're consistently doing what it is you love. You're not like trying to do 15 or 20 fights because you want that like one big break. You're on a consistent journey, and you enjoy it. I think that's
being content and I guess grateful for all the good things you have in your life by the sounds of it. No, again, great message to get across. So the last couple of questions we like to ask are kind of fun ones. You don't have to answer them if you kind of go blank and in the moment. We can always edit out, of course. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know, like, kind of what piece of advice do you think you would have given your 18-year-old self today, knowing all that you've been through, their temperament? What would you tell them if you could say, look, if I'm going to tell you one thing, it's this?
Well, the lessons that I had learned, life's too short. You got to live in the moment, but also be happy, get your education, have something to fall back on. Don't worry about everybody else, worry about you, and enjoy your time, you know, pretty much. You know, I think I tried to grow up too quick, and then try to make up for lost time, and you know what I mean. I just, not that I regret any decisions, but you know, I was telling my younger self would just be, take your time, enjoy it, and make it count.
Amazing. And finally, is there maybe a podcast or a book you would recommend to our listeners for maybe self-improvement or something that has impacted you?
Yeah, no. You did say this to me as well. The one book that actually made me reassess and reevaluate everything is a book called Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, my dad's given me that. I haven't read it yet. It's a very short book, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've not heard of that, actually. I'm going to have to pick that up.
I forgot who wrote it, but I think it's called Who Moved My Cheese.
Or Who Stole My Cheese or something like that. Yeah.
What a great title.
And it's basically about you got to move with the times.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's just your cheese has been moved, so you've got to adapt with it. You know, if you've got hardship, adapt. If you lose your job, adapt. If you move house, adapt. Do you know what I mean? If you want something, you've got to go to it to get it. You get your cheese.
Yeah.
You know, and
it could be taken in so many ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so that's the book that made me think,
Yeah, okay.
You know, so yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, Nathan, thank you so much for joining us, man. That was a great conversation.
Amazing
Go on, Alex.
conversation. I just wanted to ask before we wrap up if there's anything else you wanted to say, or if you're happy with everything that's been said today, just while we have you.
Yeah, no, I'm happy, and I hope any one of your listeners listening to this can take something from it. You know, even if it's one little thing. I always say when I'm teaching my martial arts, take what you like, leave what you don't. Do you know what I mean? So
it's a great mantra.
Yeah,
awesome. Do you want to give us maybe your Instagram handle? Give it a little plug and where people can find you, where people can watch you. You know, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. So my handle is at Mr. Bag and Tag, MRBAGANDTAG. You know what I mean? So you can get me on all social media with that. I'm busy and I like to document it as much as I can. So when this comes out, tag me in it. I'll reshare.
Awesome.
And
thank you, man. Appreciate it. And listen, do not forget to grab some tickets if you're into MMA. Go watch Nathan, Mr. Bag and Tag. Do his thing. I'm sure it's going to be a great spectacle. Now you know a bit of the man behind the pro athlete, the coach, the fighter. We appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate our listeners and viewers tuning in and listening to us.
We also wish you luck as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We do wish you luck, man. And I'm going to try and hit the gym and maybe get a few tips on how to do some stuff on the canvas. I've never done that before, so it would be great to try it out. So Nathan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll catch you on the next one. As always, you find us on @HardWork Beats Talent Podcast. And we'll catch you soon. Thanks very much.